Sports Unfiltered. Guys, in today's video, we are talking some Eagles training camp, and we are going over what has been going on in day 2 and day 3 of Eagles training camp practice. And basically, it's a tale of the two sides of the ball. Defense has looked really phenomenal. They've been extremely dominant. And after a good day of red zone work in day 1, for day 2 and 3, the Eagles offense has been really bad. When they've been doing 11-on-11s, trying to go the length of the field, they just have not played well, and Jalen Hurts has not looked good. So let's kind of get into these points. I have 6 main points that I want to bring up for today's video, and the first one is just Eagles offense. They've just been really bad. I mean, they looked good, as I said, in red zone work. Jalen Hurts threw 4 touchdowns on the first day, but ever since then, they just have not been able to get anything going. And basically, our DBs have really been dominating our receivers. And Jalen Hurts has really struggled. If you look at his numbers the last 2 days of practice for day 2 and day 3, he was 24 of 36, 0 TDs, 2 interceptions. And I mean, going beyond what those stats are, look like, he's been throwing a lot of balls short, which is something we saw last year, is like he wasn't throwing with enough anticipation. He was throwing a little bit short on his routes. And also he's been making a lot of bad decisions. I mean, he's only had 2 interceptions, but the DBs have had their hands on a lot of balls. There's a lot of dropped interceptions. He just has not looked very sharp. And I would say besides A.J. Brown, there's not a lot of receivers that have really been able to beat our DBs. Now, I will say this, from the outset, it is pretty common in the early stages of training camp for defenses to have the edge on the offense. Number one, they know the playbook. Number 2, on defense, it is a little bit easier to gel than it is on offense. You really need that connection. But I would just say this, if I'm the coach, if I'm Nick Sirianni, and I see Jalen Hurts going out there and having 2 crappy days of practice, look, I'm not letting him off the field until he throws a touchdown. Whether it's me having to put him in a red zone situation and just say, look, stay out there until you throw a TD, because it's something like Doug always used to say, like momentum in football can carry from one game to the next. So, even though these are practices, like leaving a practice on a sour note where the offense hasn't done anything at all, it can trickle to further days of practice, and it can lead to the guys just not getting in good work. I would not let this man leave the field with these types of stats and this limited amount of reps. That's just me. Number 2 observation, this is something really good, but Lane Johnson is back to 100%. Like, I think we didn't really realize last year just how hurt he was. And he was saying that, his injury last year, it made him think he was at the point where he was going to have to retire. Maybe he thought he was going to be done with football. So he said that I was at the point, I don't know if I could play anymore because I couldn't push off my left foot. You'll see from the tape at the beginning of last year, he couldn't really run block the way that he was used to. He said he could get it done, but not as effectively. I didn't even realize he was struggling that bad. Like, I thought he still had a good year. But he's saying, like, this year he feels back to himself. He feels back to being, like, completely comfortable. He's in a good headspace. And that's really good news for us. Because, I mean, obviously Lane is tremendous as it is. But knowing that he just really hasn't been right at all last year, it's really good news for us if he's feeling back to 100%, and the line can be even more dominant than it has been. Number 3 observation that I want to share is it seems like Jalen Reagor being a part of this team, it's not a guarantee. Coach Nick Sirianni came out and said straight up, like, look, he's battling for a spot. Like, he's even battling for a return spot. So I'll show you what Sirianni said right here. He said, look, we have great depth at wide receiver position. So he's battling. He's battling for a spot. I know he's not, he's working with the 2s right now. So, he's gotten a lot of balls the last 2 days out there. He's done a nice job, and he's battling for a spot. He's battling for a return spot, and he's worked hard in the offseason. He's coming in great shape, blah, blah, blah. But basically, in this one little quote of a few sentences, Sirianni said that he's battling for a spot about 4 times. So that's telling me that, he's maybe the 5th receiver on this team right now, if that. Like, I don't even think he's the 5th best receiver on the team. He may not even have a return spot. So who knows? Maybe, he ends up getting traded. Maybe we even end up cutting him. I would be happy with either of those 2 outcomes. I'm just not a Jalen Reagor fan. I think he was a net negative. I think he made our team worse, feeling like we had to get him involved in the game. I don't want him to be any part of the game plan whatsoever. I think he's a trash player. I just don't want him on the team. And that's my take on Jalen Reagor. Now, number 4, Miles Sanders. This man has a chip on his shoulder this season. He's really chippy. Miles is not a dude that's naturally chippy. Like, if you ever heard Miles speak, or like he's really like happy, mild manner, really chill dude. But this dude, he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder this year. He wants that contract. He wants to prove himself. He wants to be an every down back. And if you guys saw on day 2, he was actually running with the 2s. And Sirianni said, look, it's no big deal. They just rotate the backs, and that's just what it was. But so after on day 3, they had a bit of a reporter scrum after day 3 practice. And some of the reporters were asking, like, what is Miles trying to accomplish this year? And he said, I'm trying to get the respect that I deserve. And they asked, well, what does that look like? And he said, about y'all not writing articles about me being on the second team. So he was a bit pissed. He's a bit fiery, but he's looked really good in training camp. He's been running the ball really hard. Looks like he's in great shape. I really think Miles is going to have a big year. I want him to stick around with the team. I'm hoping that he does get an extension. As I said, I'm hoping for something around like $12 million, 3 years for $12 million. That's kind of what I'm looking at for Miles. But anyway, he's looking good in training camp, so nothing to worry about there. Number 5 observation, this is a really great one. Bradbury is looking like an absolute beast. Like right now, he's looking like by far the best cornerback on the team. This is good news for us because in OTAs, he looked a little bit out of sorts, and we were a little bit worried about it. Like, I don't know, why did the Giants, let this guy walk? But he's looked really stout. And of all the guys, like AJ Brown has been beating up on pretty much everybody. He's been beating up on all of the cornerbacks. He's been beating up on Slay pretty bad. And the only guy that's really been able to shut down AJ Brown so far has been Bradbury. Bradbury he's just strong and he's physical. I mean, you see how big of a boy AJ Brown is, how stout he is, how powerful. Bradbury has been locking him up so far in OTAs. And I mean, that's just telling me with Bradbury and Slay out there, I really think we're going to have a good secondary. I mean, so far, Epps has played very well. Vontae Maddox has played very well. I think the defense is going to be really good this year, and I think it's going to be a case this year where I feel like the defense is going to get out to a hot start, and I'm starting to get a little bit worried about the offense and what kind of start we're going to have. And this is leading me into my 6th point. I want to talk a little bit about Nick Sirianni's practice schedule approach because look, I'm just going to be honest. I'm not too enthused with the way that he's approaching this training camp. Number 1, the practices are way too short. Day 1 practice was 56 minutes. Day 2 was an hour and 15 minutes. Day 3 was an hour and 30 minutes. And I'm looking at the amount of reps that they're getting. Like first team, the number of reps that they got over 2 practices is about equal to or less reps than you would even get in one game. In practice, I need guys to be getting more reps than they get in the game. We're preparing to play games. Like, it's going to take a lot of reps. And you're having 2 days of practice where your offense doesn't get on the board. Like, they don't score a point in 2 days. And you need to have their asses out there practicing more, put them in red zone, do something until they can get the ball across the end zone. And give them something positive to build off of. I don't like the shortened practices. I don't like the limited amount of reps. I don't like, the offense being out there and having 2 full days of practice and not getting on the board whatsoever and not just saying, look, you guys are on the field until you score. That's it, point blank. That's what I would do. And also, there's no back-to-back, there's no 3-day-in-a-row practices. I don't know, it's all messed up. But, you look at how we started last year. Offense started slowly. We started out slowly. We had a terrible record to start off the season. We came on hot. It seemed like it took us like 6 to 8 games to get our feet underneath us. We can't afford to do that again. Like, I need guys out there practicing. I need the offense to be ready to start this year. And I need us to have a faster start than what we had last year, because if we do that again, we might not be making the playoffs. If we get off to that type of slow start. Like, not every team in the league can come back the way that we came back in the second half of last year. That's not a typical outcome. Like, we need to have a stronger start this year. But that's my read. Like, those are my takes so far. I want to know, what do you guys think so far about the Eagles training camp? What do you see that you like? What are your points of concern? One other thing that I want to put out that I like, that I didn't make it one of the points, is Jordan Davis seems to be really good. Everybody is talking really strongly about this guy. Like, obviously he's the run stuffer that we thought, but he's also been getting pressure up the middle in the pass rush. He's looking really good. He's looking really strong. That could be another really bright spot. He's already working in with the one, so I don't know. I'm quite happy, like, with where we're at as a defense, but the offense, for me, it's a grand disappointment so far. I'm just not happy with the whole approach. But what say you guys? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, guys, if you find yourself enjoying the video, please consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. That's all I got for this one, guys. Catch you in the next one. Go Birds.